Hey, this is Tyler. I made the TEAS Chemistry Essentials course, and here I'm going to tell you how to use it. I'm going to give you the step-by-step plan for how to study, and I'm going to talk about how this course is different from a lot of the other resources that are out there. You should know that this video is also a podcast. You don't have to sit and watch it. You can just start listening if you're cooking or cleaning or driving or whatever. I know you don't have a lot of time. And if you're the kind of person who likes to read stuff and look at diagrams, I also have a document with all the stuff written down. You can find it in the very first section of the full course online. First off, before anything else, I really want you to know that you can reach out to me if you have any questions or if I can help with anything. Send me email, tyler@teasinOneday.com. If you have comments or suggestions, let me know. Any complaints? Tell me. I'll try to fix it right away. Don't be shy. Tyler@teasinOneday.com. Okay, so now let's get right to the main point. Here's how the course works, and it's different from pretty much everything else out there, okay? I designed this course to teach you the most important, highest priority chemistry topics for the TEAS. I'm not trying to teach every single chemistry topic in the universe. I'm focusing on the topics that show up on the test most often and the topics that are easiest to learn. I'm trying to raise your score as quickly as possible. That means I'm trying to get you ready for the most questions in the shortest amount of time. Let's say that studying for the TEAS was a trip and we're going to Paris. You've never been, but you don't have much time. There's so much to do. I bet you want to go to a French cafe and get a pastry, check out the Eiffel Tower, visit Notre Dame Cathedral, the Arc de Triomphe, go to the Louvre Museum to see the Mona Lisa. One high priority right after the other. And make sure your phone's fully charged because there are going to be a lot of photos to take. I mean, if it's not on Instagram, it didn't happen, right? This is where I think most TEAS books and videos out there are doing it all wrong. Sometimes they spend hours teaching stuff that is so hard to learn, and it's probably never going to show up on the TEAS anyway. If they took you to Paris, they'd waste a whole day wandering through some weird neighborhood to see a rusty old statue no one's ever heard of. I'm sorry, but who cares? Let's go to the famous sites. I don't have a lot of time. When you look at other books and videos and courses, you might see chemistry topics that don't show up in my course. And you might worry that I made a mistake and I forgot something. I can promise you that didn't happen. I know all the possible topics very, very well. And I've made specific, careful choices that some topics are a waste of your time. Maybe they don't show up on the TEAS enough. Or maybe it's really, really hard to learn them and it's just not worth it. Like, maybe it would take 2 hours to learn one really hard topic. And in that same amount of time, I could teach you 8 other topics. So imagine that I'm looking at a big map of Paris on a table. And I'm looking at all the different things to do. And I'm thinking, how can I make this the best trip in the shortest period of time? Does that make sense? If you've got any questions about this, send me an email. Tyler@teasinOneday.com. Now that you know how I made this course, how I'm planning our trip, let's get started. In my opinion, there are 3 chemistry topics that you must learn for the TEAS. It's going to take about 2.5 hours to learn all this, and I think you should do everything possible to learn this information. If you're taking the TEAS in just a few days or even tomorrow, prioritize this stuff. I don't know, study during your lunch break or hide in the bathroom and watch these videos or whatever. I don't know. Just try and do whatever you can to learn this stuff. Try not to walk into the TEAS without knowing this information. That's because there are always questions on these topics. I think this stuff is pretty easy to learn, and if you learn it and remember it, you will raise your score. First, you're going to want to watch the videos on states of matter and state changes. This is absolutely fundamental, and it doesn't take that long. If we're on a trip to Paris, what are we doing here? We're taking the subway from the airport and we're walking down a beautiful little French street and we're going to a bakery and getting an espresso and a croissant. It doesn't take very long and it's a great, quick way to start the trip. We've already got some pictures to post to Instagram. Here's another way my course is different. The first thing you'll notice as you go through these videos is that they're long. My videos on states of matter and state changes are almost an hour long. Some people on YouTube cover this information in maybe like 5 minutes. But I'm not going to apologize for that. If you're learning this information for the first time, or if it's been years since you've learned it in school, 5 minutes isn't nearly enough. You're just not going to learn it. You're not going to remember it. We need to slow down and go step by step. You need to do lots of examples, and then you need to do lots and lots of TEAS practice problems. That's what I'm trying to do here. Actually teach you so you understand and remember. Okay, done with states of matter and state changes. We're fed and caffeinated, and it's time to go to the Eiffel Tower. The most important thing. That is atomic basics for the TEAS chemistry. Now, why didn't we do this one first? Well, this topic takes a little longer, and we need to understand the states of matter stuff before we can really understand this. But atomic basics is absolutely critical, okay? Absolutely critical. You'll learn stuff about the periodic table, structure of atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, atomic number, isotopes, net charge. I could go on and on and on. I simply cannot emphasize how important this stuff is for the TEAS. As you work through the course, you'll see that many of the videos have worksheets and some have flashcards. I always say, if you want to make sure you retain the information as best as possible, print out these worksheets and grab a pen and fill them out. No, you don't have to do them. This isn't school. I'm not grading anything. But the more practice you have with this information, the better you'll learn it, the better you remember it. After you've watched all the Atomic Basics videos, you have such a great foundation for the TEAS. Now look, I think there's more chemistry that you should learn. But if you had to stop the course right here, you've already learned really, really important stuff. It's like if you had to leave Paris right now. There's still more to do, but you did wander down a beautiful street, go to a delicious bakery, and see the Eiffel Tower. Not bad. And that's how this whole course is set up, to go through the most important priorities first, so you don't waste any time. Now, after you're done with states of matter, state changes, and atomic basics, and you have more time, let's move on. Next, you're going to do 2 lessons. First, you'll do compounds and chemical formulas. That will teach you more about chemicals and how to write their scientific names, like H2O for water or CO2 for carbon dioxide. After that, you'll watch Introduction to Chemical Reactions. This teaches you about what happens when different chemicals come together or react to make something new, like when propane and oxygen burn when you're grilling. Once you've learned about compounds, chemical formulas, and chemical reactions, you have the tools to understand pretty much everything else in the chemistry section. Next, move on to catalysts and enzymes. This is just one video. Just one video, but ooh, this one is important. This might seem like it's a little out of order. Most other chemistry courses put this all the way in the back. The books and videos cover it last. But we're doing it right away because this topic is so important. We need to put it front and center. It's like Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Catalysts and enzymes. Gotta learn it. The TEAS just loves this stuff. And here's another reason why it's so important. Questions on catalysts and enzymes show up on the chemistry section and also on the biology section. So when you learn about catalysts and enzymes, you're basically studying for 2 sections at the same time. You're getting double payback for your time. Can't argue with that. Next, you're going to watch the videos on acids and bases. In these videos, you're going to learn characteristics of acids and bases, learn about neutralization and the pH scale and buffers. Now, in these videos, I'm not teaching you everything in the world about acids and bases. I'm teaching you the stuff that is most common on the TEAS and is easiest to learn. I know. There's stuff about acids and bases in other YouTube videos and TEAS books that I'm not covering here. I know. But again, I've tried to make careful decisions about what to put in and what to leave out. Before we dive more deeply into details about acids and bases and pHs and buffers, there are other topics that are more important and more common and a better use of your time. Done with the fundamentals of acids and bases? Next, you're going to work through the videos in the bonding and the periodic table section. Now, we can prioritize here. If you don't have a ton of time, you can skip 3 videos here. The videos on ionic bonding, covalent bonding, and common ionic charges. Of course, I think everything here is important, and you'll be most successful if you do it all. But I also know that we don't always have as much time as we want. So if you're running short on time, skip those 3 videos and move on. Next, watch the videos on solutions and dissolving. All of them. They're pretty short and sweet, and here's the thing. They're super valuable because just like catalysts and enzymes, these topics sometimes show up on both the chemistry section and the biology section. So when you watch these videos, you're basically studying for 2 sections at once. Finally, the last video in the high priority section is Le Chatelier's principle. Yes, if you're short on time, you can skip it, but I really suggest that you don't skip it. Sometimes people are surprised that I put Le Chatelier's principle here on the list of topics that are most important and easiest to learn, because it's a topic that you often see in advanced chemistry courses. And yes, that's true. But for some reason, the TEAS just loves this topic, and the topic almost always shows up on the test. I agree that it's more complicated than some of the other topics, and it's a little harder to learn. Okay, fair enough. But if I can be honest, without sounding like a jerk, I think I'm a pretty good teacher. Give me about half an hour, and I think I can make this topic super clear and get you ready to answer some tough TEAS questions. Now, let's say you work through all of the high priority videos. What do you do next? Well, what would you do in Paris? Once you've gone to the most important places, now you can double back and spend some time really getting to know the city. Now, instead of jumping on the subway to get to the next destination, maybe you'll walk through a park and do some exploring. Or you'll go to see a really cool antique store that's a little bit out of the way. If you look through the course website, you'll see a section with score booster videos. If you still have more time, working through these videos will give you background that can raise your score even more. Work through as many of these videos as you can. Of course, they're going to help. But remember, the most important thing is that you work through the highest priority videos first, before you worry about any of the score booster videos. So, now that we've covered this information, you're all set to get going, and you know exactly what you should do. Start watching the videos and doing the worksheets. And if you don't have time for anything else, I beg of you, try to find time for states of matter, state changes, and atomic basics. Do whatever you can to learn this stuff. Trust me, it will be worth it. As you work through the course, remember the main points. I'm focused on the topics that are most common on the TEAS and that are easiest to learn. I'm not trying to teach absolutely everything that might show up on the test. I'm trying to raise your score as quickly as possible. That means I'm trying to get you ready for the most questions in the shortest amount of time. You might see topics in other videos and books that don't show up here. I didn't make a mistake. I've made specific, careful choices that those topics aren't worth your time. Maybe they don't show up on the teas enough, or maybe it's really, really hard to learn them, and it's just not worth it. At the same time, remember that I'm covering this material step by step on purpose. You'll find plenty of YouTube videos that cover all this information and much more in just a few minutes. I don't think you'll really learn anything from them. I don't think you'll feel yourself learning from videos like that. If you're learning difficult stuff like this chemistry information and you're learning it for the first time, you've got to go slow. You've got to go step by step. Once you really learn something, once you really understand something, it's going to stick in your mind like glue. That's what I'm going for here. Lastly, I'm really not kidding when I say to email me, Tyler@teasinOneday.com. If you've got questions, comments, whatever, if there are things you don't like about this course or things that are confusing, send me email. Let me know. I'll try to fix it as quickly as possible. I honestly love hearing from you. So listen, best of luck with the teas. Keep me in the loop. Tell me how I can help. I want you to crush the teas, and I want to help you do it.